And we are live, Trina. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes, and it's Earth Day, Scott.
Do you remember the first Earth Day yourself?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell?
Yes, I can. I can mention that. And I'm going to be sharing whatever things that are in my yard, which is not so great right now. And we have a beautiful pictures of a beautiful garden last year to encourage everybody to grow something. But my first Earth Day, I had come back from evacuation in Egypt. Had spent 2 years in in Paris after the evacuation in 1967, 68. And then I came back to the United States. And that summer, I managed to sign a contract with Paulus Press for a book I'd written in 1965 on the theology of hope. Well, I had been through the poverty of Egypt, my girls in Egypt, with fathers who sometimes made $50 a year. I'd been through all of that and the revolution in Paris and all. So I needed to work on this book to bring it up to date. So I then worked for 7 months from August to April. And what happened is I was looking out the little window that I had in a hallway. I had just a little teeny room in a hallway and a key to use the bathroom and the kitchen in an apartment. And I looked out and there were all these people going into the park across the street, which is Colt Park. Colt was a gun manufacturer. So I went over there and it was Earth Day, but I didn't know anything about Earth Day at that time. I was only later to become a pretty deep environmental activist, but at that time it was new. But I was at that park on that first Earth Day in 1970, and I've been at these things ever since. And I'm now 92, so you can figure that out. So what I'm holding here are things from my backyard, and this beautiful gift we're given, a little gold spots in the middle of lawns. And they shouldn't be treated as enemies. They should be treated as dignified royalty in your lawn. And if you don't have insecticides, you don't use chemicals on it, and if you're not right close to the road, you harvest these leaves and you eat them. And I understand that I haven't used it as such, is that the stem is a special root, a remedy for diabetes. And with the heads, you can make dandelion beer. Now, I haven't done those things, but I do eat the leaves. And I come from a family who lived in the suburbs of Cleveland, but my father grew up on a farm. So one of the things we had every year and every season, at least once or twice a week, is dandelion greens. And they would be sort of blanched and then with a kind of oil and vinegar treatment done. Now you can eat these raw, but they are bitter. They're some of the bitters, but the bitters are so good for us, like arugula and the dandelion and all. So this is picked in front of my house. Now some of these are basically so close to the street that I'm in a very busy county road, so I have not chosen to eat those, and they don't seem to mind sort of poor soil that gets all the salt in the wintertime. They seem to thrive there much more than in the rest of my yard. It's not like that. So there are a few other things in this that I want to show you. I just want to show you some of the stuff from my yard. The violets are just coming up. Are just coming up now. Our little beautiful violets. And these are the leaves. And violets and their leaves and the flower itself are edible. Let's see if I can grab a little baby flower. I had it here. I'm mostly grabbing the leaves right now. Okay. Well, let's see. Well, you know what a violet looks like. It's very edible and it's wonderful. So you can look up edible plants. They're really fun to put in salads and in food. and it so makes the people who get your cooking very, very happy. And I have here, this is sort of the end of my daffodils and my narcissus here. And I have a lot of these plants, and I don't know what they are. They're little teeny purple flowers right now. And I do have a lot of what we called in Cleveland, where I grew up, is myrtle. But I think they call it vinca around here in New Jersey. And it's a purple flower. And what's nice about this plant is that the leaves stay green all year, even in our cold climate. And by the way, it's extremely cold here. It was 34 degrees, just a little above freezing this morning. And you don't really think of that related to spring, but it is also spring. And I think I want to tell you mostly about, this is the glove I put on for this job, because my favorite crop, at least the crop, I bought one plant because I understood and read how nourishing Ortega, which is a Spanish word, or stinging nettle is for both teas and eating green. And this is the crop that I just harvested about an hour ago. And I'll cook the whole batch up. I'll put it in hot water, and when it's hot and it's boiled a little bit or cooked a little bit, we have no probable problem of stinging, because it does sting. So when I pick it, I grab the bunch of it with one hand with a glove on, and then I use a big knife with teeth. Or you can use a scissors, but I find a knife with teeth just goes through a big bunch at one time. So that's what I just did an hour before this program. So that's my stinging nettle. Now, stinging nettle, you have to look it up yourself. But boy, oh boy, it does about everything for you. And it's a great spring tonic. And if anybody is around Montclair, I have so much stinging nettle from that one little plant. I probably have 5,000. And it's spread all over my backyard. It's my major crop. It's become a weed in some places because I can't handle all of that. So anybody who wants to harvest it around here, please do. And I could probably go into business with organic stinging nettle and dry it. I also tie it on a coat hanger and hang it over the little hooks on many coat hangers and hang it up high so it dries for the winter. And then I strip off the leaves and compost the stems. It's great in a compost pile too. And in a biodynamic compost pile, they always have one of its four corners. They put some stinging nettle in. And so it's just highly recommended. It's one of the 20 plants that I first read that everybody should have in their plant pharmacy. I'm growing a little bit of thyme and a little bit of oregano, and I want to get some arugula, which I really love a lot, the plant, but I'm not the main planter. But now I think we'd like to go. Scott, are you able to show Marisol's garden from last year, her first year garden?
Yes, I am, and this is just going to be a treat for everybody because Marisol, who is a dear friend of ours, and you can say more about her later, has shared this from her garden, and this is going to be an inspiration for us all. So here we go.
Is this a slide or does it? Oh, it goes very fast. Okay. Do you have a picture of it before it started?
Well, I'll tell you what, we can start over again and you can talk over it, but there's some music in the background. So here we go.
Okay. What's there? If we could stall that a little bit. Well, okay. What you first saw was the place of the yard. What she She and her daughters have bought this house with 3 units in it. So one daughter lives upstairs, and one daughter lives downstairs, and Marisol lives in the middle. Marisol and about 9 little teeny doggies live there, plus the girls. And she's also the matriarch now of a quite huge family of other children. So they now have an actual home that they have bought. It's the first time they've had a home they've bought. They've been renters up to now. So she was so eager to do this garden. So that is the place how it looked to start with. And then they mulched it like this and dug it up and such. And then they planted little sprouts that she raised in old egg cartons. And they're putting the sprouts in and she cut up bottles. She cut the tops off of bottles and put the bottom and put them around to sort of protect the little growing plants. And so here is the garden at one point, and here's more of it. And is that it, Scott? Is that what you have? Okay. But you see how it flourished. And the delight of this beautiful first-year garden, of being able to, when I went and visited and she showed me the peppers and had me have look at that cucumber, or that zucchini, probably a zucchini, and peppers, cauliflower,
lettuce.
And that's that a tomato? That's probably a cucumber itself. There.
Strawberries? Yeah.
Yes.
Look at that basket.
It's a great joy. Now, you can do an awful lot with just containers, even on your fire escape. This is Marisol and 2 of her grandchildren. The little boy is just a year old and rambunctious like anything. She was taking care of him and his 4-year-old active sister by herself for over a week. So the parents went away. So that's, I think, the highlights. And of what we did this Saturday, Marisol's thing was really so beautiful because and she was there to talk about it. We were on something, and I just thought to just show you a beautiful way of using art for this environmental world. This was the invitation to our Grail Earth group that met with people from around the world. Our Eastern time was 7 o'clock, so all these other times were at different times. So this is one piece of the invitation. Here's another, but I thought, this is the way I like to see things, mixing the art in with the environment. And I just set a tribute to this international little team of people from East Africa and from Latin America, Honduras and Brazil and Africa, and us here in this country are working together like that. That's sort of what I was doing over the weekend. I was at that at 7. And then Saturday afternoon, I went to our Peace Action Spring event where we talked about the nuclear threat that's still so grave and so great. And we were trying to think about any pros for nuclear bombs. None. It's used for deterrence, but all those billions of dollars these countries all use to keep them up, and we have poverty and hunger. And no place to live for a lot of people. How can we justify any of this? Or the war machine that keeps sending? Over the weekend the Senate agreed with the House and sent another 45 billion to Ukraine in terms of weapons. That's our biggest export, isn't it? Now, that's not the peace we long for. But I think that we pretty well filled our time for today. So I'd like to introduce a reading from a wonderful Jewish rabbi. We now have a Hebrew text of Hope for the Flowers, and he is the one who's now checked it. He's very special to me because it was 20 years ago that we first met to try to get this book published in both Arabic and Hebrew. And that didn't work then, but we're hoping it works now. The Arabic is in process, and the Hebrew is here on our hands, and Ezekiel is not Ezekiel. He is like Ezekiel. He's a prophet in this time, but his name is Yehezkel Landau. And he's also on the board at the U.S. board for AWOL, a land for all. A land for all. What's going to happen over there, we don't know. But these were his words after our lovely conversation the other day, when he coined the word that was so beautiful, Cosmic Chrysalis. And so this is what he writes, and Scott has done it in a way that I can read it even. If humanity is to survive, it will have to undergo a global transformation of consciousness, a radical paradigm shift beyond anything we have witnessed so far in history or her story. It would be something akin to a cosmic chrysalis from which we emerge with a way to overcome fear through love. That's the essence of the human condition, the struggle to choose love over fear, life over death and destruction, over life over death and destruction, blessing over curse. See Deuteronomy 30. If we manage to do that with God's help, we can be genuine agents of hope for the flowers, hope for the flowers and the rest of creation. Now, isn't that beautiful in a program like this, where the theme is radical sharing, freely chosen? Both parts are essential, and it does require a kind of spiritual decision making and spiritual choice that I'm not sure the caterpillars can make, but we are invited to make it. So thank you, and let's think about all of our Jewish brothers and sisters who are celebrating Passover starting today, and also our Muslim brothers and sisters. All of us are children of Abraham who followed these three traditions, and let us keep the sword out of our hands and practice the love that we have all been asked to practice. Amen. And peace to each of us. Shalom. Salam.